Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Vibes Digest. It's your host, Cameron St. Clair. And today I have a very special guest, Miss Rose Gawd.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming onto the pod. I'm super excited. We were just like recapping how we actually first met. We first met at a Black on the Block event, but it was actually like them sponsoring Battle of the Bands. And when I was there, like obviously I loved your set, but I also just like really loved your energy. So when I came out to LA and I wanted to interview LA DJs, you definitely were like the first to come to mind. Yes. I'm curious. Oh, okay. So yeah, how has your weekend been going so far this week?
So far, so good.
Yeah.
So far, just working.
How many gigs have you been doing?
I usually do weekly. If I could help it, 1 to 2.
Okay.
But if it's something really cool comes up, then it can turn to 4 to 5.
Oh my God. In a week or a weekend?
And sometimes about 4 in the weekend, and then
Okay.
like 1 during the week.
Oh my gosh, that's
So this week was
crazy.
kind of light. I only did Thursday and then yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, Thursday I did a prom for CSUN.
Wait, that's so
It was like
cute.
it was a queer prom, and then right after I did a 2000s birthday party.
Yeah.
And then yesterday I did my R&B party called Romance Please, where I try to
Okay.
bring back slow dancing, slow jams a little bit.
Yeah.
And then today I do a paint and sip, and the theme is Selena.
I saw that. That's so exciting. That's a jam-packed day. Honestly, or like weekend. I'm very impressed. I have not had that crazy of a weekend, honestly. I feel like, the one cool thing I do want to like mention is I got to go to Joe K's like EP party.
How was it?
It was actually really cool, and his EP sounds amazing. Ole, I believe it's the DJ name, who was like opening, or not opening, I guess DJing for him all night.
Mhm.
Did an amazing job. It was a lot of mixtures of like your R&B, but I feel like an Afrobeat, like instrumental tied into it. So fun, like you could dance, you could sing to it. It was cute. I'm trying to think, what else did I do? Yesterday, I went to a birthday party. It was like an early 2000s theme birthday party, and then I went to Level 8 for the first time. Have you been to Level 8?
Not yet, but I know you.
Okay.
You probably were at Storm's party.
Yes, that's where we were. I was not prepared. See, this is one thing that my cousins love to do. They love to be like, oh, just like pull up. It's going to be like a casual time. And then they start dropping all these different events on me. I'm like, y'all, I'm not prepared for early 2000s. I think I borrowed like Lainey's, what's it called? Michael Jordan, like 23 jersey. And I just wore some jeans and called it a day. But it was cute. People were dancing. That's the one thing I do love about LA. I feel like a lot more people are dancing.
Yeah.
Like, because I know you used to live in New York. So would you say it's about the same?
Yes, but it took some time for LA to get there.
Oh, okay.
But in New York, I felt like it was more. I got to start at the perfect place.
Yeah.
If I hadn't started DJing in New York, I probably wouldn't be as experienced as I am.
That makes sense. We're going to get into that too. I'm going to do a whole deep dive of like an interview with you. But let's start off actually with Spotlight Artists. The Vibe Spotlight, if you will. This is when I highlight an artist of the week. This time I have 2 artists. First, I want to shout out Ciara because she just dropped her new song, Ecstasy. Did you take a listen?
Yes.
What do you think about it?
I love it. I love the video. It gives classic Ciara. I think a lot of people have been waiting for her to kind of get out of mother zone. Because they felt like she was keeping it very rated for everyone.
Like the Level Up song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, she was still good at that. I'm a big Ciara fan.
Me too.
I've thrown Ciara nights where I play Ciara
all night. I love that. Okay, so wait, you're the perfect person to talk to about this. I definitely have some thoughts. Like, I like the song. It reminded me of Body Party, but I wonder if it's gonna have as much like replay value just because it wasn't as upbeat. Like, it was definitely a slower, like more sensual song. I'm curious about her evolution of her music though. Like, I feel like early 2000s, Ciara was definitely like popping like nonstop on the charts. You could not go anywhere and you weren't like listening to her. But then I feel like as like time went on, her music wasn't as good, dare I say. Do you think that you agree? Like, no.
No, I wouldn't say it wasn't as good, but it was. I felt like some of it was missing a missing piece. I feel like she always had a very good team up until the point, even when she did things with Future. The last album Future was on was really good.
That was really good.
And I feel like something's missing in some of these. Because I really liked her song with Chris Brown, That's How We Roll.
Yes.
It feels good. It feels like a good mixture of Chris Brown and her.
Absolutely.
So that felt good to me. I'm like, see, this is what happens when you have a good team, a good production, a good writer.
Yeah.
Ecstasy is still missing a little something for me, but I think it's a good start.
I agree. I feel like she's going back to her, like you mentioned, like some of her older music. Have you heard of the term like reheating her nachos?
Reheating her nachos. But she's reheating her own, so it's okay.
Exactly. She's reheating her own. I 100% agree. I feel like I was hoping for, I'm happy with this song, but I'm looking for like a goodies album.
Yeah.
You know?
I would be looking for more. I like the goodies album. Surprisingly, I like ballads, Ciara.
Okay.
So then you go to the Evolution, I like My Love and So Hard. And then some of her later stuff, I like Sorry.
Okay, yeah.
People don't give her the vocal credit, but I do like when she's in her ballad bag. So if she gives me a good ballad, then, I think that could also boost her.
I love that. And when I speak about the Evolution, I was also, while scripting this, I was thinking about Beyoncé, for example, because I feel like at one point, especially when it was like Beyonce's solo career, they were both like toe to toe with each other. And then I'm curious to like pick your brain. Why do you think Beyonce went up here and Ciara kind of like almost plateaued, if you will?
Beyonce is more of a risk taker. So Beyonce is, key thing for Beyonce is she keeps a good team. She will take a risk with a producer if she hears something, a songwriter. She will have hundreds of people work on an album.
Yeah.
And pick out, she's very good at picking out those 5 people who are like, you guys got it.
Mm-hmm.
Ciara, I'm not sure if she is the ear for her sound or not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I don't know. I would love to ask Ciara, like, what is her process when she goes into making music?
I love that you keep highlighting someone's team. That's like, I never really thought about it that way. Like I always look at them almost like an individual, but you're absolutely right. Like a team, you need that support. You need also people who are going to tell you, yeah, that's hot or that's not hot. And then I also like the fact that you pointed out that Beyonce's a risk taker, because maybe I was hoping for Ciara to like stick with a specific type of sound, but like maybe she should do something completely different, And
I feel like she tries, but it's still the same. She's still she's not out the box completely yet.
Level Up, for example, felt like she was trying to like go outside of the box, but it still kind of felt
she did go out of the box for Fantasy Ride, actually. Because Fantasy Ride has pop, R&B, hip hop, slow jams, upbeat. Fantasy Ride is probably a good indicator of Ciara's range. If you wanted to see where she could take it.
Yeah. I need to re-listen. I feel like sometimes right when an album drops, I like listen to that project and then I don't revisit, and I should revisit.
And I think Ciara also had some label issues too. And that can really hinder you. That can stop you.
Oh.
You don't have a team.
You don't have a team. I'm thinking about Normani. Hello?
You lose your team. And they lose focus on you. Like they'll bring in a bunch of new people and they start treating you like old news, and they're looking for what's new instead of building the legacy artists.
Right. I agree. What do you think about that though? Like if you were, let's say, working for a label, how do you find the balance of like maybe wanting to foster new talent, but then like you mentioned, like also helping legacy talent?
I feel like if I ran a label, I definitely, for those artists who have already poured so much into the label and brought so much, those would be the priority. Instead of
I agree.
pushing them away. But again, it just depends on who you're bringing in.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully a new single means potentially a new album.
I feel like most likely that's coming.
Yeah. Oh, also, I just thought about it. It wasn't on here, but she was just came off of a tour, right?
With Missy
With
Elliott.
Missy, yes.
Yeah.
So maybe she'll also like do another tour.
Maybe she'll do something with Missy too, because they make good music
They
together.
always make good music. I haven't heard a bad Ciara Missy song yet.
Yeah, no, they make good music together.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, speaking of like legacy artists, as we saw Chris Brown announce his stadium tour, which I don't want to come across as shady, but I'm kind of surprised that it's a stadium tour. I don't know why. Like, I recognize like who he is as an artist and like makes amazing music, fully recognize all of that. But stadium tour, I always just think to like Beyoncé, for example. And it's hard as hell to sell out a stadium. You know, even Kendrick Lamar and SZA right now, they're like struggling a little bit to fully sell out the tour.
Yeah. Well, Chris Brown right now is in a place where he can play on nostalgia. So, like, for me, if I'm going to talk about Chris Brown or what I love about Chris Brown, for sure, I'm always going to take it back to that first album.
Yeah.
And that turns 20 this year. So he's already thinking smart. Like, okay, I can grab back my old listeners with this.
Yeah.
And then also keep my new listeners. I think a stadium tour isn't wild because everybody's taking the risk on stadiums right now because concerts are a big deal.
That's
so
true.
If there was ever a time for him to try to do one, it's now.
It'd be right now.
It's now or never. But it's also going to prove, are you a stadium tour artist? Because everyone compares you to Michael Jackson. They compare you to Beyonce.
Let's talk about it.
He would have to actually show up.
He would.
Can you put on a show for a stadium? You could put on a show for arenas, but planning a stadium to me means like, okay, this is a big production.
I was just about to say, like, even beyond ticket sales, like, how are you going to actually fill the entire stage? You know, even down to like dancers. I mean, we know like he's an amazing dancer, but how do you make sure like people are distracted, like people are paying attention to you, and you're filling a space, and you're also like paying attention? Like, I'm sure the crowd play is even more difficult because you're dealing with a larger audience. Yeah, I'm excited for that. I saw some people though saying that a lot of new artists are kind of like, I don't want to say not cheating the system, but like these combo tours. How do you feel about that? Like the SZA and the Kendrick, and now it's like Summer Walker, Bryson Tiller with Chris Brown.
Smart. Because honestly, Megan put Glorilla on her tour and it changed Glorilla's life because she was able to be seen, be able to put on a production, put on a show.
Yeah.
I would like to see Summer Walker step it up.
How do we think
I've seen her trying. She already, you could tell Summer Walker already wants to do better because she lets Tiana.
I was about to say, yes.
So it's like there's a want for that.
Yeah.
Now you have the space for that.
That is true, but oh my gosh, I'm sure. Did you see her video when she was like acting like she was stressed because Chris started adding more dates?
No.
You know the TikTok sound that's trending right now is like, what the hell? What the hell? She did something, I believe it was to that sound, but she was looking like this. And she was like, Chris Brown keeps adding more tour dates. And people were like, I hope like you're not gonna show up anxious because we know she has her moments.
Well, they're gonna use Jhené Aiko, I've seen, is gonna fulfill some of those dates.
Oh,
I seen a poster go up. It was like Jhené, Bryson, and Chris for like 8 dates.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a whole lot of sense.
So she probably was like, just the original ones I signed up for, thanks.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. I also am so excited for Bryson Tiller. I've never seen him perform, but him performing Trap Soul, oh my gosh, it would heal my younger self.
That's the one I'm nervous for because I've never seen him perform. So I'm like, I know the music is there.
True.
Just like Summer, as somebody who spends a lot of R&B, I know these artists move the crowd. So it's, you know, they can sell tickets. People love their music. Right. Even the deep cuts. I could play an album cut from Summer Walker's album. Everyone will know it.
Absolutely.
But the performance, they're going to have to step it up.
They're going to have to step it up. Do you feel like R&B artists, though, should be held to the same level as like a pop star, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Because how does an R&B singer, I wonder, like, I'm curious how an R&B singer can actually properly perform while singing. Like, because we want them to sing live, right? And I think Chris Brown, he has R&B, but I feel like overall he's a pop singer. That's how I kind of categorize him, similar to Beyonce. I feel like Beyonce is, we can consider her pop. So it's a little bit easier, like with upbeat songs to, you know, dance around. Like, how is Summer Walker gonna be.
They're gonna have to play on their strengths. Like one of my favorite singers is Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
She'll do a little 1-2 step, but she's not gonna give you full choreography. But her
That's
strength is
true.
singing.
Okay.
So she knows she can grab you back that way. Summer Walker's strength is definitely gonna be singing.
Yeah.
She's probably gonna have to use more visuals too to help bring everybody in, like how SZA does.
Yeah.
Bryson Tiller has a good mix of up tempo and slow jams, so he could do a lot with dancers.
I agree. I could see that for sure. I also wonder if they're gonna drop a song to all perform together, or if they're gonna just keep everything.
Fun.
Right? That would be so fun, but something tells me they might just keep every performance separate. I'm also curious. I know like their music flows together, but I wonder how they're gonna treat the performance. Even with like Kendrick and SZA, I'm so curious. Like, there's no way SZA's gonna be opening for Kendrick. She's not an opener.
But I think we have to stop looking at it as opening and closing when it comes to that too. I'm like, why? I'm like, there's always so much argument. The opener should be a DJ or something. That's your opener when everyone's in the seats. Once the show starts, the show starts. Whoever goes first or second, at this point, it doesn't matter. It's the show.
Okay.
So I'm like, I think more importantly, Twitter makes a big deal out of who's the opener. And then I remember Escape and SWV had a big falling out about. And it's like, you guys are collab. This is a tour. Maybe some nights the other one goes second, you go first. It doesn't matter. But when the show starts, it starts.
I agree. And I feel like also Nicki did a good job. I went to her past tour where her DJ was opening up for everybody. And then she came out. And then I believe like Monica came in like in the middle.
Oh.
And so I felt like that was a pretty good way of like, she was kind of like an intermission. And we were singing with her while Nicki went to go change and the whole set changed.
Oh, that's a good idea too. I like that.
Yeah, like just like kind of, I guess, filter them in a little bit. But when you have 3 people, it's almost feeling like a festival, like a mini festival. And speaking of which, Broccoli City announced that they're not having one this year, which I'm kind of bummed. I'm from Maryland, for context. I'm from PG. And I feel like this past Broccoli City was so freaking good. And now they're saying that they're just, like, Chris Brown's, what's called concert is going to be a part of it. Or the Broccoli City, like Broccoli City sponsoring essentially Chris Brown's DC date.
Collaboration.
Yeah.
Everybody's thinking of interesting ways to make money and collaborate, which I'm not mad at.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I guess it's just disappointing. I saw a lot of negative comments. I know their PR team is fighting for their life. People were upset because, unfortunately, Broccoli City has had a really rough history. I don't know if you're like familiar with the festival. So it's in DC. And unfortunately, it started in like, I want to say the springtime, like April, May. Obviously, an outdoor festival. There's so many times it got rained out or it had to end early. But this is like a true like Black festival. And I feel like this past year, they finally like switched stadiums. They went to, I can't think of the name, but it was like a soccer stadium in DC near the Nats. And they had Gunna perform. They had Meg perform. Sexy Red, like a ton of like poppin' artists, and it was smooth. There were no issues, no complaints. Everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, Broccoli City finally got it together!" Like 10 plus years later, and then finally, like once it was a successful festival, now it's like, well, damn, like we're not doing it this year. We only get Chris. Yeah,
interesting.
I know it's kind of disappointing.
I thought there was another festival in DC, a picnic.
Roots Picnic?
Yeah, where's that one at?
That's in Philly.
Philly, okay.
Yeah, that one's in Philly. That's another good one. I want to go. I've never been. Do you think that you ever?
I'm not a festival person. I don't know what happened to me, but big crowds make me nervous. If I will go DJ, like I was
just about to ask.
I've gone to Coachella for doing activations.
Oh, fun.
So like last year I did True Religion activation at a mansion on the outskirts.
Yeah.
And then they called me back this year. I would do that. Ooh. I would do a stage at Coachella, but I would want to be chauffeured around and
yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, you don't want to like actually go through the crowd.
When I see those crowds, I'm like, how are you guys? What if you have to go to the bathroom?
I know.
Yeah.
It's actually,
so they said some people will go to the bathroom just in the middle. I'm like,
which is a whole thing in itself.
I couldn't imagine. I mean, what else would you do? What else could you do?
Honestly, I have no clue. I will say I'm super, super spoiled. And I feel like anytime I've gone to a festival, I have family who like works corporate, and they'll do like either it might be a beverage that's sponsoring the event or like a specific company. So I definitely get the free like upgraded tickets. So I never really thought about like being deep in the crowd. That would give me a panic attack. I'm not a big festival girl either, unless I am removed. So we're aligned. We're aligned. But yeah, I'm super excited for the tour. Are you gonna go?
For who's?
Chris.
I don't know. I
haven't decided yet. I feel
like
stadiums,
just like festivals, I like more intimate. If he put on an intimate show for his debut album, I would be there.
Yeah.
But if it was stuck to an arena, but I have faith that it'll be a good show.
It'll be a good show.
I know a lot of people who bought tickets to go.
It was all down my timeline.
Yeah,
I saw everybody posting.
And I've seen people who were like, I'm not buying tickets, which I understand that too. I'm like, everybody's fair to pick where your dollar goes. Like that's if you don't want to fund someone or something, you absolutely should not.
You absolutely should not. I was just saying that I feel extremely conflicted myself, and I was gonna crack a joke like, if I go, I feel like I can't publicly pose. It's one of those things of like, I love the music. It's just the actual artist is the problematic one here. Very similar to Kanye, where I'm like, I love Kanye's old music. Even his recent music is no, but his older music, definitely. And it's so difficult and embarrassing when they do something. Yeah. And it's like, I can't defend you. Like, you're actually being an idiot. But
one positive for Chris is I feel like when he's on tour, he's out of trouble. And I think that's why he stays on tour and why he stays performing.
Yes.
To keep himself busy.
I agree. Because you don't see him in the news. You don't see any controversies. You're absolutely right.
I think that's where his heart is. So I think that's why he keeps himself performing and in the studio and making 100-song albums.
Exactly. Exactly. And honestly, that's someone, we talked about risk takers. Do you think he's a risk taker?
No.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make him a bad artist. But Chris Brown he's given a lot to R&B. When I have R&B parties, Chris is a part of the playlist.
Absolutely.
And throughout the night too, because he has different eras, but it's just that he had a pop moment, but he never, I can't even say he ever changed the sound, because I feel like he's a evolved version of like a Bryson Tiller or like early Drake and The Weeknd and Janae. When it started kind of going dark, he found a way to kind of commercialize that sound.
Yeah.
But I do think he's a good writer, and I like that he keeps a bridge. Yeah. And I like that he likes to perform, because
I do too.
He cares about the show.
I do too. And oh my gosh, again, a phenomenal dancer.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's not running out of breath. Like,
I don't know if his mic always on, but I wouldn't blame him if it was off.
It really
I wouldn't blame him if it was off.
I feel like, honestly, it genuinely cannot be. Like, you are literally doing backflips. Like, I can't expect you to like hit a high note after doing a backflip. Yeah, no, that would be wild. But I do want to move on now to the interview section, because I have so many questions for you. You kind of hinted a little bit earlier in this episode of how you got your start to DJing. I know I kind of saw that you started in New York, and you started through, it was a bar, if I'm not mistaken, in Harlem. Am I correct there? Okay, so what got you into DJing? What was that moment of realization that, oh, I want to try this out?
My friend, he had a party called Trappy Hour. Well, actually, my sister's friend. She lived in New York when I moved with her when I got there. And she's like, oh, I have this friend I think you should meet. You would love him. And he had a fashion line, and I was going for fashion at the time. Nice. And she was like, yeah, you should really meet him. He can tell you about manufacturing, blah, blah, blah. And then he was starting a party called Trappy Hour at Harlem Nights. Trappy Hour was supposed to be, or is still, it was a space for Black men to have a spot where they could hear everything. He was like, when they go to gay clubs in New York at this time, it would be Oons Oons, Britney Spears, Kylie Minogue. He was like, but we all grew up, we're black. We have Black families. He was like, and also, we're not always so welcome in straight spaces, but we want to hear Travis Scott and we want to hear all the hip hop artists, but we also want to take it to Monica and Lil' Kim. And so he was like, I want to create the space for that. So that's very much what Trappy Hour was and then you have like a melting pot of people from so many different places.
Yeah.
So you can go to Florida, you can take it to California, you can take it to the South. And so that's where it started. And I was helping him make playlists.
Okay.
And then he finally started getting DJs.
Yeah.
And he got one DJ and the guy was singing over the mic all night. Like it was his karaoke. And I was like, if you ever bring him back, I'm never coming back. And he was like, oh my goodness. Well, if you feel so strongly, why don't you get up there?
Oh.
And I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Why not? Literally, that's how it said, why not? And I went and got the equipment. I used my sister's laptop. And like a month later, he gave me a night. He was like, okay, go up there and show us what you got. And then that's where it started.
Wait, I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh. Wait, that's so funny. I also think it's hilarious that, because that's one of my pet peeves. I do not like a DJ that's talking too much and that is singing.
No, he was singing like verses. Like he was not putting that mic down.
Was he good though?
No.
Oh.
No. Not even a little.
That's so bad.
He had good song selection.
Yeah. And then how did you, well, I would hope so. He probably felt that way. That's why he was singing the whole time.
No, he was.
How did you then like kind of progress as time went on? Like, did you do a couple of those parties and then you were like, oh, like, let me actually start pitching myself to some of these other locations?
Yeah, I got really good and bad reviews the first night. Like I remember someone was like, oh, you had great song selections, but your transitions were horrible. And you cut the songs off at the wrong time. You need to learn when the best verses are. I was like, okay. But they started off their combo with me like, great song selection. And then they went into the negative. But that helped me grow. So I was only getting I was doing like that once a month for the start. So I started my own party to kind of give myself just freedom to kind of not have that much pressure.
Right.
But I wanted it to bring it back to fashion, which I had went to New York for. So it was like a spinoff of Met Gala. So my first party was 90s Chanel themed, and we had like a 90s Chanel themed photo booth. I had gift cards for people who came as best dressed, and then we just partied, but everybody looked good. That was the theme. And then I carried that on through the summer, but by my second one, Trappy Hour was like, actually, you're getting better. We can have you every week if you want. So I think my first gig was February.
Yeah.
And by June, I was like every week at Trappy Hour.
Oh my gosh. I love that. And then were you doing this full time at the time or were you still like managing work?
Still managing work 5 days a week. Trappy Hour would have me there from 8 p.m. to 3 a.m.
Oh my God.
No shade to y'all, but I'm going to say the price. I was working every Thursday for $80 from 8 p.m. Yeah, 3 a.m.
I'm gagged because what?
I had no idea what like DJs were supposed to get. It was my first thing. And then my first party, I think I made like $300 off the bar.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, so maybe you could make a little more.
Okay.
But then by my last party, I'm like, hold on, y'all. Cause they just broke me off almost this much and you're still paying me this. So then they started working with me. But for my beginning days, yes, $80, $10 an hour.
I was about to say, I'm trying to do the math real quick. That's crazy. That's wild. Okay. But I mean, I guess it was great experience.
It was amazing experience. We had, that party. I don't know who even when I go to New York now, still, I'll go do Trappy Hour. Or if I do a party, everyone I used to meet there, they'll come out
and support.
My friend would be like, I haven't seen some of these people all year.
Yeah.
Like, they want the nostalgia.
Yes. So and fun. I'm curious too. Well, before I ask about the cultural differences between New York and LA, why did you end up moving to LA?
Well, I'm from LA.
Oh, okay.
I always just wanted to live in New York.
Okay.
And then I had the opportunity. My sister was there. She was by herself. Well, she had her husband now, but she's just like, I'm here and I don't know. She's like, if you want to come and I was like, actually, I do. I'm gonna try something different.
And you were there pre-pandemic though, when I feel like everyone, as somebody who didn't move until after the pandemic, everyone says there is no New York like pre-pandemic New York, like the party scene, which is amazing. So
they say that about everywhere.
Oh.
They say that about LA.
Okay.
I lived in Dallas before I moved to New York. They say that about Dallas. Which honestly, I get it. In some ways, they're right.
You agree?
In some ways, they're right. But New York, I've seen it. I feel like I've only seen it grow.
Interesting perspective. Grow in what way? Like the party scene? That makes sense, because then now you have like the everyday people, you have like Yellow Party. There's like a ton of like curated events now versus just going to the club.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see more curation all the way around.
Yeah.
I see more people caring about how people feel when they walk into a room and the experience.
I love the fact that I feel like that's almost, I mean, obviously DJs always talk about their pocket of sounds and stuff, but I feel like almost your niche, your thing is a curated experience. I was going through your page like, whoa, you host a lot of parties. And again, I don't want to, we're going to talk about the cultural differences, but first let's talk about the parties. What parties did you start in New York and what parties did you kind of bring to LA?
So I started with the fashion one in New York, and then I brought that one to LA pre-pandemic.
Okay.
And it was very slow in the beginning. I mean, like 30 people would show up here and there. I had a cowboy theme, had a denim theme, I had a do-rag theme, just trying different 90s theme. And finally, I teamed up with 2 stylists. They're sister and brother. And I asked them to host. I would always ask somebody who was a stylist to host because I just felt like they could set the tone for like what people should come in and look like. Yeah, and they would. Actually, the hosts were always good, even when it was slow nights. But I had Angel, they go by Angel and Diallo Mitch. I had them host a denim one, and that one we just took off.
Okay.
And I was probably about 6 months before the pandemic, and we had like 6 months of great parties. We did leather and latex. We did like a Halloween Monsters Bash. We just had a great, we did a 2000s, and it was just building and building and building, and then we were stuck in the house.
Yeah.
So when I came out of the pandemic, I could not bring the fashion one back because I had spent the year on Twitch doing like more centered around female artists.
Okay.
So I spent a year doing like a Toni Braxton night, Janet Jackson,
on Twitch.
Kalani on Twitch. That would be the Saturdays people would tune in and watch me, and I would pick an artist, and we would just.
I love that.
So when I came outside, everybody wanted that experience in real life.
Real life, that makes sense.
So yeah, my first party outside of the pandemic was an Aaliyah night.
Ooh, that sounds amazing.
On the anniversary of her passing.
Yeah.
You had to be vaccinated to get in. And we listened to Aaliyah. First, I did like an hour of people I thought were inspired by Aaliyah. And then we went into Aaliyah's catalog.
That's so cool.
It was fun.
That sounds fun as hell. I love that. Okay, now let's get into the cultural differences. It's kind of tough. I feel like you're gonna be a little biased because you're from LA, but I was gonna ask, like, what party scene do you think that you prefer to attend and then to DJ?
To attend, because I feel like I don't get to go out as much here because I'm always
hosting it.
They're always booking me,
yeah,
which is good problems to have, or I'm throwing the party.
Yeah.
And in New York, I did get to experience a little more. I would say attendance-wise, New York. There used to be a club that was open in New York, in Brooklyn. They shut it down. When you would walk in, it was like a big bowl.
A big bowl.
They shut it down. It was just, honestly though, I would spend my best nights there.
Was it in like Williamsburg?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I'm trying to think.
It was like a dome, and I want to say they had a magazine attached to the name. I can't think of it right now. But I spent many of great nights there.
Yeah.
I've still never experienced anything. Maybe, hopefully people experience that when they come to my sets because I was so enthralled. Like, that was just such a great time. And when people would come visit me, I'd be like, oh, we're going to Brooklyn. We're going to this.
Yes.
I can't believe I can't think of the name right now. But yes, New York definitely has my heart in terms of the party scene. But it's completely different now. Like, I see
it is different.
The new DJs. I see some of the DJs I started with now being the curators and the leaders. Like classic new wave.
Yeah.
DJ 9 a.m. She did one of my first fashion parties.
Okay.
Yeah. I see a handful of people. Brandon Blue, I met in Dallas and ended up moving to New York. He was curating.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I see more people stepping up, DJs stepping up.
Yeah. Do you feel like, now I want to know, who do you think, which city has the better DJ? I personally think New York has better DJs.
I would only say LA because in New York, there's just specific things they have to hear. In LA, they will be open-minded, and you can hear from LA to down south to Afrobeats to you can get everything you want.
Wait, I think it's the opposite.
You think so?
I was just about to say, I feel like LA DJs, they are too deep into West Coast music. And maybe this is just coming from an East Coast girl. And perhaps I'm being a little bit of a hater. But I just feel like it's almost like the deep cut, like West Coast music, and it's nonstop, which is beautiful. However,
I don't see that. New York, I feel like New York got their deep cuts. I remember, I'll never forget, I thought somebody was going to jump me outside because she asked for Caribbean music. I want to say it was like dance hall or something. And I was still very new. I didn't even have a lot of music on my laptop.
Yeah.
And I played Drake Controller. Girl, she came back to that booth so fast. Wait. She was like, "Excuse me?" That is not
gonna be a clip because that's all.
She was like, "That is not." But there's a lot of Caribbean people in New York. They want to hear what they want to hear.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In LA, even if it's not one party you hear everything, there is a party you can find. Okay. I think maybe they're not as maybe we have a access issue where people don't know how to find them.
I think that's what it is, because even when you speak on like curation of like parties and events, like you kind of mentioned it, New York is just now getting into that, where I feel like LA has always kind of been that. Like y'all have always done like house parties from what I've seen, you know? We are more like bar culture, more like lounge spaces, and then they just pick the best DJs to come and like DJ for the night. And so that's why I do feel like it's a larger variety, or like it's easier to find like what you want to listen to that night, where exactly what you just mentioned, I feel like in LA, especially like the major clubs, like when I was at a level 8, I was like, what is this?
I've never been to level 8, but LA has a big, even before the pandemic, club culture was huge. When you hear people talk about like the high times of the 2010s, they're talking about clubs that they used to go to. And bar service was mandatory, and you never know who was going to pop up. You could be partying with Rihanna one night. You could be partying, if you lucky, maybe even with Beyonce. Like, you just never know who's going to be in the room.
Yeah.
But it was around club culture. Like,
okay. You're teaching me something, because honestly, I mean, but granted, I didn't start coming to visit LA until 2021. So maybe I just am not familiar. Also, I think what I've also noticed is that LA is very cliquey, and it definitely depends on who you hang out with. So for example, I feel like my cousins specifically, like they hang out with people that like do more like parties and less like clubs, you know?
Well, we stepped away after pandemic. We stepped away from the clubs a lot anyway. I feel like that's one big change. If someone's going to say LA is not what it used to be, it's because people stopped caring about
clubs
looking like they're lit and actually being lit. So find more pockets. As far as the curation, I feel like I see it way more, especially now, than I did when I first came back.
Okay.
So like when I was doing my fashion parties, it was easy because there was no one else doing it at the time.
Right.
And then when I came out of the pandemic and I was doing like artists, it was easy because no one was doing it at the time. And if they were, it would be like the gay bars doing like Britney nights. They wouldn't really tap into Black artists. They don't really think about us.
Yeah.
Unless it's someone like a Beyonce. They have their Beyonce nights too.
But then how much you want to bet the Beyonce songs are what? Like the single ladies.
I did a Britney Spears night, and this girl came up to me at the end of the night and she was like, I've been to so many Britney Spears nights. She was like, this one was different. And I knew what she meant, because my ear for Britney is not the ear for Britney I hear when I go out.
Absolutely.
As a Black person, I like more R&B sounding Britney. So Blackout, I love that album. And I love the work she did with Dark Child. I love the work she did with Pharrell.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but yes, if you into Oonts Oonts, you gonna hear Britney after that. Even though I still play some of that because she has hits. But yeah, you just didn't really see artist nights yet, tributes that really cater to us. And then once you get into like seeing people do, or even seeing me like tap into R&B, people did start bringing out, well, why don't we have more Afrobeat center things or cultural? Now you see house, like Hood Rave. Hood Rave is like, why don't we have things that introduce Black people to the sounds we created, from house to ghetto tech to everything? So you get, now everybody's chiming in on like the experience part of like, okay, but bring something to the table that's missing.
Right. Do you think that there is something that is missing in general from all these parties? Or even like, I mean, I guess that's a tough question I was gonna ask, like, about your own parties. Like, is there something that you feel like could almost elevate these different experiences?
Yeah, like for me this year especially, it's more about partnering with brands, especially when I do things with
Mhm.
on a lot of legacy artists.
Yeah.
I would like to up the experience to be more so if I'm highlighting an album, which I do monthly, like I'm
Yeah.
doing Mariah Carey's Emancipation of Mimi this month.
Ooh.
Now Mariah has tweeted me and said, "Invite me next time."
What?
And I'm like, "Well, how great would it be for you to come and
Yes!
help bring like tell a
Oh
story
my
or something around
gosh.
it?"
Yeah.
But I would like to even have sometimes a producer present or some kind of like walkthrough.
Mhm.
When you have really great albums and they worked on the album artwork,
Yes.
Emancipation of Mimi has great artwork. How cool would it be to like kind of feel like you're stepping into the world of that album?
Absolutely.
So yeah, my big goal, even just elevating that type of experience, would be to make it a full out experience. It takes
Mhm.
money, but like
It does.
I'm like, I would like
Yeah.
to tap into just collaborating with labels more and kind of being ahead of schedule to where we can highlight those big moments. Because
I
turning
love
20,
that.
so many of my favorite albums turned 20. We did Keisha
Yeah.
Cole, The Way It Is, and they sung the songs to the end, which means these are people you get to be among people who like really love this thing.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, that would be the elevation part, is just collaboration and like smart collaboration too.
Yeah, just being very intentional.
Intentional.
Yes,
Do
exactly.
it because you're when you do it because you love it, the
Mhm.
intention is easier
Right.
to come across. So, yeah.
That makes sense. Honestly, even like some things that you talk about, it almost reminds me of there's this group that they're just now starting. I actually interviewed one of the DJs, Mustafa. He does this thing called Cue the Record, but they like play a vinyl record. So I went to oh my gosh, which Solange album was that? I'm always so bad with album names. I feel like not oh my gosh, the one with like Crane in the Sky. Don't
A
touch
seat
my
at the
hair.
table?
A seat at the table. Yes. We did a seat at the table start to finish. And then they like broke down like each song, or they didn't each song. It was like maybe depending on what side it was, like let's say side A was probably like 2 to 3 songs that they
Mhm.
highlighted and told a story about like where was Solange in that moment in the like process of writing what's it called, the music. And I think that experience was amazing and almost made people appreciate the album so much more. So I feel like exactly what you're doing, like having the listening party, but like either having someone there to tell the story of like a producer, for example, like, oh yeah, and when I had Mariah like do this,
Mhm.
this different variation with her song or her voice, I should say, or even like be able to discuss the writing process, it just takes people, like you said, a further step into the work. And then it also just develops the appreciation for the music even more.
I think in my perfect world, every time I've done that party, it would be that. So like I started a few years ago and I did Brandy Full Moon on a full moon. And if I could have had it any other way as a
Mhm.
start, I feel like people in the club setting should enjoy the music. So I don't do a lot of stopping
Mm.
from the album because I just want you to
Mhm.
hear it through, feel it. A
Yeah.
lot of us we're at an age where we didn't even get to go to the club to hear Full Moon actually live, and now you are. So
Yeah.
I want people to hear it how intentionally it was meant
It
for
was meant
us.
to,
So
yeah.
I'm like top to bottom, I do play it, but I don't really interrupt it. But if
Mhm.
I could have it my way, either before that or after that, because it brought so much attention that I saw full moon parties pop up in 3 different cities, like,
Oh my
a
god.
month later. And I'm like,
You're an innovator.
no one was thinking about playing, but full moon is so
Yeah.
niche of an album, but everybody loves it, but you don't think, "Oh, this could work in the club," until you see
Right,
it.
until you actually see
And
it.
I've taken it to New York twice, and we had a ball. But in a perfect world, after experiencing it in the club too,
Mhm.
I would rather have the sit down, like, be something you can go back to over and over again on, like, a YouTube or a
Oh,
podcast.
yes. Yeah.
That's where we
Yeah.
discuss what you just experienced and how you felt. People were walking up to me, "Oh, that was my first time hearing the Full Moon album." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, you got to hear
Yeah.
it here with people who love it and they're singing to you
And
and
it's a
like
beautiful
they're
experience.
showing you the best parts. No one's telling you what to like. Everybody just gets to hear it together."
Yeah, I love that.
So, yes, I do like I have seen parties pop up where they're like, "Oh yeah, we discussed like the linear notes." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"That is cool." I love that. I'm just like my variation, I just want people to sit with it. And then like, yes, I want you to know the details. I love the details. I love album booklets. So yes. But I would want that part to live forever, not just in the moment.
That makes sense. Almost, I think a podcast idea makes total sense. And then every episode could be like every song, you know, and unpacking that. I also love that you mentioned like playing it from start to finish. The one and only time I've ever experienced something like that was in DC, and it was a club renaissance night. It was like when they were doing all those different parties, and being in a room in a club, and it's not really a club, it was a theater, but just like being with everyone who loves Beyonce, who loves the album, we all dressed up. I was with my mom. I don't know how she let me wear that outfit because it was cuts all the way through. I was woof child. But just being able to like listen to an album start to finish, and just singing it on the top of your lungs, right? That is a completely different experience. Then I would even say, and I loved the concert. Like, I'm not saying it was better than the concert. It wasn't better than the concert. However, it was just a different experience to play it start to finish with people, like you just said, who adore it, you know?
So I played it early. I played it early start to finish when it first dropped, maybe like August. I did my first Club Renaissance.
Yeah.
And Tina Knowles posted it. She posted the second one I did. And I was on my way to New York to do a third one.
I would die.
And when I tell you the line was to the subway, people were messaging me. They were like, we can't see the club.
Yeah,
we're walking into it was at 4 West. I have done probably about 16 Club Renaissances, and now I'm doing Club Cowboy Carter.
I saw, yeah.
And we're going to go behind her in the cities, but I've done 3 of them here already.
Okay.
Beyonce's fans are like no other.
No other.
And I play Beyonce all night. I don't do a lot of remixes because I feel like Beyonce already makes intentional music.
Exactly.
But yes, Beyonce's one artist I could play for 5 hours and not repeat a song.
Yes, and no one's gonna stop dancing or singing.
No.
One or the other.
But Renaissance is how I got to the Full Moon. Because I have done so many. I'm like, okay, I can't do Renaissance forever, even though they sold out every single time, still to this day.
Yes.
But I'm like, I can't do Renaissance forever. So I wanna make this a thing. And then that's where I got the Full Moon idea from, was like, oh, let me try my favorite deep cut album.
Yeah, I love that. I love these different parties, and I need to attend one, honestly. We also need to talk
I'll be in DC.
Okay, cool. Oh, or New York.
Or in New York. For the tour, I'll be there most of the weekends.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So, yeah.
I'll hit you up. And then I know we're at time. I have one last question for you. You sell hats that say no requests, please. I love asking every single DJ I interview this question. How do you feel about people song requesting?
I always say, no, I'm not taking requests, but what are you thinking? Because sometimes people have great ideas, and sometimes people just have drunk ideas. But the great ideas, I will, like, if you just at least hear them out, like, no, I'm not guaranteeing you anything, but I'll say what you already hear. Say what you're going to say.
Right.
And sometimes, like, some people are so spot on. I'll be like, come up here. No, sometimes they're hearing what you're doing, especially if you're doing a good job, and they're just like, they'll tell you, like, you're doing great. I don't want to stop you, but what about this? And I'll be like, okay. I'll see. I'll
try folks.
But then I'll mix it in. They'll look at me like, and you mixed it in how I wanted it. But
I love
that. But some people, they'll be
off.
I don't even.
Because I have like witnessed it. Even some of my friends, they'd be like, oh, I would love for them to play like some Sexy Red. And I'm like, baby, we are singing Mary's Garage right now. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah,
they want to. But see, that's just code for words sometimes too. For like, I want to dance.
I just want to dance. Exactly. Yeah. So maybe you should play just fine, and then we can all like start dancing.
No, my last R&B night, I remember my friend before me. He played a lot of slow jams, so I felt like the crowd was kind of worn down. So as soon as I stepped on, the first thing I said was like, I was like, people think you can't dance to R&B. Let's show them.
Can, yeah.
So I played like a string of up-tempo tracks, and they were dancing.
I love that.
But it was R&B. I'm like, I didn't have to fall back on
hip hop or pop or any. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
No problem.
So fast. Oh my gosh. Please tell everybody like where they can follow you and any upcoming events you want to talk about.
Yes, you can follow me, Rose Gawd, everywhere except for Twitter. I'm DJ Rose Gawd. And I do 4 events, Cult Classics, where I play an album top to bottom. I do Cult Classic Cinema, where we play a film and then we play its soundtrack. I do Girls, 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 which is centered around women in music, and we highlight different female artists as hosts. And then I do Auntie Jams with Hilltop.
I just saw that.
And yeah, we play the throwbacks. It's for nieces and nephews too, and uncles. And yeah, those are my mainstays.
Amazing.
Oh, and Black Emo Night. Sorry.
Yes. And also, I have to like plug this too. You'll be at Black on the Block next weekend. This is dropping on Wednesday. So, yep, that following Sunday, she'll be there. So excited to hear you. Yes. So yeah, thank you so much again. And thank you guys for those watching on YouTube. And thank you for those listening on audio. I'll catch you guys next Wednesday. Bye.